right. Good evening, Who That Nation. Welcome to the WDN Chatline podcast. This is the host CB, and I'm here with my co-host WD. WD, how you doing, fam?
I'm doing great, man, but I feel like we are upset about something today.
Absolutely. We would definitely find out what that is as we get into the show. Who That Nation, I hope your work week is going by, very well. Hopefully tonight's show will, take your mind off work and, get you into, some Saints because training camp, as we know, is on the way. But before we go any further, we have a very special guest with us tonight. We have Bob Rose. Bob Rose, how are you doing tonight, fam?
Guys, I'm doing great. It's been one heck of a summer, but excited that football is back in the air. Listen, I've followed both your shows, all three of your shows, best I can for the last year or so. You guys put on a great product. I'm honored to be asked to join you tonight, and hopefully I'll be able to keep up with you.
Okay, glad to have you, Bob. And for the new listeners, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what you do, but just let the new listeners that may not know you, let them know what you do for the Saints.
Well, I appreciate that. I currently write for the Saints News Network, which is the New Orleans Saints team coverage on the Sports Illustrated SI.com team channel. This is the second year that I'll be writing for Saints News Network. Overall, I've been writing for the New Orleans Saints for going on 5 years now. Before that, I was with the Canal Street Chronicles, another great publication for a couple of years. Over at the Saints News Network, we publish about 3 to 5 pieces a day. I myself try to average a piece a day. Come in at about 30 pieces a month. My boss over there, Kyle Mosley, and myself, we do a podcast called the Bayou Blitz. Now we've taken a little bit of a sabbatical this off season, but we're about to get rolling again about midway through the next month. But the Bayou Blitz, we try to do a show every Wednesday night during the regular season. And I'm also one of a trio of hosts, including Alan Ulrich, and Sean Williams on Tuesday night's broadcast of the Under the Dome podcast. So hopefully we try to entertain our listeners and viewers a couple of times a week that way too. Needless to say, it's a busy media life covering the New Orleans Saints. But I'll tell you what, I've been a fan of this team ever since I was a little boy. So it's other than actually strapping on a helmet and shoulder pads, this is like a dream come true.
Oh man, well, Bob, we definitely glad to have you on, and it's been a while. Before I just want to say a few things, man. I first met you up at the last training camp in West Virginia. That was our last 7-9 season, and like you said earlier, we was on the radio with Deuce and Bobby. So yeah, man, it was great to meet you, and I'm glad we was able to keep in touch and have this relationship we have now. We definitely will be interacting with your podcast and yourself with ours. So you family to us, man. And once again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, I feel the same way about you guys. And it was certainly an honor meeting you back in that 2016 Greenbrier camp. I've gotten a little bit older and a lot grayer since then. But you still look great. And like I said, I know you guys put on a great show. I'm looking forward to doing a couple of crossover podcasts once we get the Bayou Blitz rolling again. Because I know my co-host and my boss Kyle Mosley, he's a fan of what you do as well. And I know you guys post a lot of what you do in the Bayou Blitz group, and I know our fans and our viewers love your broadcasts in there.
Okay, appreciate that, Bob. Okay, so what we're going to do, Bob, we're going to catch up with you far as, Saints news, and we want to hear your thoughts. We're going to go back to the NFL draft. NFL draft, as you know how the start of the draft began. It was rumors and sources saying that we were trying to trade up for a cornerback, J.C. Horn or Surtain. I believe that Surtain was the other name, but those two we was trying to move up and get. We end up picking a defensive end, Payton Turner, from the University of Houston. So what is your thoughts on that pick? And also, I want to know what's your thoughts on that pick after we picked up Marcus Davenport's 5th-year option a few days prior to the draft, and we still get a DN.
Well, I tell you what, my instant reaction the night of the draft, I won't lie, I was absolutely furious. I would have bet my house that the New Orleans Saints were going after a defensive back, specifically a cornerback, with their first-round pick. And Lord knows it would have filled a big need. In fact, it's a positional need we're still talking about, months later on the eve of training camp. But you're right. There were a lot of rumors in the air even that night that the Saints were trying to move up into the top 10 or 12. And they were eyeing J.C. Horn specifically. Horn, of course, is a very, very talented son of former Saints All-Pro receiver Joe Horn. So that would have been an interesting family storyline. But when they were unable to do that, they thought that Northwestern's Greg Newsome would fall to them at number 27. Or at least be there in the mid-20s where they could make a short jump up to get him. But unfortunately for New Orleans, Cleveland grabbed Newsome with it was either 21st or 22nd pick. I still thought they'd go after a guy like Asante Samuel or even Eric Stokes, who went directly after the Saints to the Green Bay Packers. I thought either one of those guys would have been a significant upgrade to their cornerback position. But as it turned out, the Saints were very, very high on University of Houston defensive end Payton Turner coming into the draft. Again, I didn't understand it the night that they made the pick because you pointed out Davenport, who we'll circle back to in a minute. They had Carl Granderson and Cam Jordan still. So I thought that was a position of strength. But as our friend Mike Detillier always says, you can never have too many guys to get the opposing quarterback off the ground or onto the ground. And I think that was kind of New Orleans' philosophy. They really liked what they saw out of Turner in pre-draft interviews and pre-draft workouts. And the film that I've watched on Payton Turner after, the more film I watch on this kid, the more I like him. And I think he's going to be a really good player in the NFL. He played a little bit of interior line for Houston, but I think he only goes about 270, and he's a terrific athlete. He has freakish athletic ability. So I think his main home is going to be on the edge in the NFL. But he's a long athlete, long arms, plays with excellent leverage, and has good bend around the corner. As he learns the position a little bit more, I think that this guy has a real potential of being a down in and down out starter. But as always, Sean Payton and company know something that the rest of the world does not. I was equally shocked and frankly a little bit disappointed when they picked up Marcus Davenport's 5th-year option. Because that means that they're going to be locked into Davenport for the next 2 seasons. You can't really, if he has another disappointing campaign, they can't release him in the offseason because that's going to be a straight $9.5 million dead cap hit. So that's just not something that NFL teams do. Now, I've always been a big supporter of Davenport and his potential because he's another terrific athlete. And when he's on the field, he does create disruption up front. The problem is he doesn't play with consistency, and B, he's injured all the time. Hopefully he could put both of those behind him and stay onto the field because obviously the Saints have confidence in him to pick up that 5th-year option. And it almost makes you think that the team is wondering if Cam Jordan is on the downside of his career. Cam is coming on. I know he was a Pro Bowler last year, but Cam is coming off a down year by his standards. His sack and quarterback pressure totals were as low as they had been in the last 5 years, and second lowest since his rookie year. So I think Cam is going to bounce back pretty strongly. But if he doesn't, it makes you wonder if when they selected Turner, a lot of us maybe thought, okay, well, they're looking to get rid of Davenport after 2021. That's obviously not the case if they picked up his 5th-year option. So it makes you wonder, okay, is this an insurance policy for Cam Jordan in case he just continues to decline? And if so, and the Saints always make these draft picks a year or two ahead, or looking a year or two ahead. So you got to wonder. I mean, Payton Turner is going to be a big factor in how successful this defense is this year. But this is a pick made just as much for the future of the edge position as well.
Great take on that. And you said an interesting thing. I know he played in the 3 technique. We talked about it before. I know he played in the 3 technique his first 3 years at UH. And then they moved him out to N. So maybe I was thinking, could they possibly put him in the 3, alongside Onyemata. That's what I was thinking, but I also had in the back of my head maybe they making this move a year or two ahead with Cam, but I just know with this pick, he's going to be on the field at some point. He's going to be heavily involved or he's going to be on the field, whether that means Davenport snaps decrease. But if they had that vision for Davenport, far as seeing his snaps decrease, why is you picking up his option? So, I mean, I really don't – it's a lot of scenarios you can look at, and maybe he was just there. They was high on their board, and they went with him. So, it's a lot of scenarios you can look at, but the Cam Jordan, situation, that could definitely be it. And that's really the only thing that I could think of because we had depth that can play at the 3 technique. I don't think they selected him to move him inside, in my opinion.
Hey, no, I'd agree with that. But I tell you what, now that we know that Onyemata is going to miss at least the first 6 games with that suspension, Payton Turner gives them additional versatility up front. Like you said, he can play the 3 technique. He's lightweight, so you don't want him inside on running downs or goal line situations. But we also know that Cam has the versatility to play some snaps inside. They might even experiment with, the Davenport a little bit inside. I could see some alignments with Davenport, Cam, Payton Turner, and even Carl Granderson all on the field at the same time. This defense definitely has a vision for Payton Turner this year.
Right. Before we move forward, let me get into the comment section right quick. We can read a few comments. We got the OG Jerry Poor in the building. Said, "Hey, WDN Chatline podcast."
Evening to you, Jerry.
Okay, he also Leslie Newsom said, "I'm back. Let's go." Welcome back, Leslie. And Jerry giving you a shout out, Bob Rose.
Jerry has followed my work for a while. He's a supporter, and I appreciate you.
That's a diehard right there, man. That's the definition of diehard right there.
Absolutely. And then I got my brother in the building. He said, "Good stuff, guys." Shout out to my brother. Picking and flicking in the building. Who that, everybody? Who that to you? And we got Miss Anna in the building. She said,
Anna, I love you, baby.
She said, "I can't see y'all right now," but I see her made another comment saying she can see everybody now. So shout out to everybody in the comment section. I see a few more names popping up. Chemo Slice said, "Who that family? Who that to you?" And then we got GB Burrell said, "I hope they sign Kwon, but if they don't, we can make it with Pete and them." Well, we will hit on that. Trust me, we definitely gonna hit on that in a few. So we'll get back in the comment sections in a few. Okay, so we get past the draft, Bob. What is your thoughts on the free agency as a whole? Do you think we could have done more, or do you think the cap space? The focus was more on getting under the cap. He was able to make some splash moves.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Coming into this offseason, anybody that follows the team as fans or in the media, we knew it was going to be a rough offseason. Frankly, I am impressed that they did what they did to get under the cap and still made some moves. And I know that a lot of people on Saints social media were down on the Saints, especially this free agency period, because they weren't bringing in the different players that they wanted to. But listen, look on the surface. The team did a great job at re-signing a lot of different players. They re-signed Jameis Winston. They brought back Ty Montgomery. On the defensive side, they were able to keep Marcus Davenport. They had to use, Marcus Williams. They were had to use the franchise tag to do it, but they did it. You re-sign Ryan Ramczyk to a long-term extension. Those are some slam dunk moves. Forget for a minute that these guys were already Saints. Say that they brought in a Jameis Winston, Marcus Williams, Ryan Ramczyk. I really like the signing that they got from the Chiefs, Tanoa Passanio. I think he's going to make a big difference on that front line as well. If all those guys came directly off the free agent market, you would say to yourself, New Orleans had some nice activity this free agency period. So look at it that way. Don't necessarily say, they re-signed this player, they re-signed that player. This is a team that's won 4 straight NFC South titles. I think keeping your core intact as much as you can should have been the main goal this offseason, and they did the best they could. Breeze is obviously a big loss, but we knew that retirement was coming. Frankly, it probably came a little bit a year or so too late. But they kept their offensive line together. You got Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara coming back healthy, knock on wood. You knew Jared Cook wasn't going to come back. You knew that the day they drafted Adam Troutman last year, let alone after Cook did what he did during the season. I think the biggest 2 losses were obviously Kwon Alexander and especially Janoris Jenkins. They, in my opinion, I'm a big fan of Paulson Adebo, their 3rd-round draft choice from Stanford. I think he's going to do good things at cornerback, but they haven't done enough at that position to fill the void created by Janoris Jenkins. I love the linebacker from Ohio State, Pete Werner, but I really hope that they're able to re-sign Kwon Alexander. I know they have him back in the building. In fact, they were negotiating even more with him today. But Kwon and Janoris were the biggest 2 losses if you really look at it. The rest of the team, the depth got hit hard. This is one of the deepest teams in the National Football League over the last 3 years. And now that depth, it could be there if some of these younger guys step up, but right now it's unproven. So this team is going to be really, really susceptible to injuries. But other than that, I'll give the free agency period a grade C+. But that's only because of, like I said, Janoris and Kwon. But other than that, I thought they did an underrated job in the free agency period.
Okay. Oh, yeah, but like you said, I think a lot of that had to do with getting under the cap first. When I think that was a historic number that we was at over the cap. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think a salary cap has been that large, as far as over the cap, that I've seen. So, Mickey done a hell of a job on that end, and like I said, Kwon and Janoris was really the only 2 key pieces, in my opinion, that we lost.
Malcolm Brown.
Who?
Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, Malcolm Brown is a big loss, especially now that Onyemata is out. I was hoping they'd be able to retain him, or when they made the decision to trade him, I was hoping that they'd somehow bring back Sheldon Rankins. One of the 2, but I was a huge fan of Malcolm Brown. But I think Shy Tuttle is going to be all right this year. Again, defensive tackle, they have some young pieces there. They have to prove themselves, but they're excited with what they got. But, man, when you consider they lost Rankins, had to trade away Brown, and now Onyemata is suspended, I think defensive tackle is another position that scares me early in the year.
Okay. So we go past free agency and we come up to let's see, Ramczyk, he gets his extension. And then we go to Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams, they franchise tagged him, back in March, April. And then we come up to this point where they had time to negotiate with him. They didn't get a deal done. And my takeaway is going to be probably, he was asking for more that they was willing to offer him. So in your opinion, Bob, what's your thoughts on that? And what do you think his range should be? And do you consider him in the top 5 safety, range as far as what money when he does get paid?
And I think Marcus Williams is definitely a top 5, maybe even top 3 free safety in the NFL. Listen, I know he's not a great tackler, but he improved a great deal last year. He has as much range as anybody at the position in the National Football League. In fact, the only one The only safety I'd say might have more range than Marcus Williams is Tyrann Mathieu. And, of course, Tyrann, he gets moved all over the formation anyway, so he's not a traditional free safety. I think you're absolutely right. Marcus and his people probably wanted more than what the Saints were coming to the table with. But it was going to be tough to re-sign any of these franchise tag guys. And also any of the veterans that are coming in on one-year deals. Listen, the salary cap is projected to jump up an additional $80 million by next year. So all of these younger players, they have their eye on performing well this year and cashing out big next year. Marcus is not going to be hurting for money. His cap figure is what, 10.3, 10.5 million this year. So he's still up there as far as yearly average goes, as far as safeties. And he's betting on himself. What I worry about is since the franchise tag deadline came and went, as far as, like you said, as far as getting your franchise tag player to sign a long-term deal, you can't negotiate with that franchise tag player during the course of the year. So in other words, he's locked in on that franchise tag number. The New Orleans Saints will only have a very short window of opportunity after the year ends. There's like a 3-day window when teams can negotiate with their own free agents before the open market starts. That's the only window they're going to have to be able to extend Marcus Williams before other teams are going to be able to negotiate with them, because you're not going to be able to franchise tag Williams for a second time. That tag number goes up like 120%. And then you're talking about paying upwards of $20 million for a safety. That isn't going to happen. I'm thankful to have Marcus Williams back this year, but I'll be interested to see what happens at the end of the year, because like I said, they're not going to get in a bidding war with anybody. But to show you how highly regarded they have Marcus Williams as a player, this is only the third time in New Orleans Saints franchise history they've franchise tagged anybody. And the other two guys, their names were Breeze and Jimmy Graham. Pretty darn good players. So that's how highly valued they have Marcus Williams. I hope and I think it'll pay off nicely this year. But they're going to be scrambling at the end of the year to try to get a long-term deal done with him before he hits the open market.
Okay. Good thoughts. As far as a top 5 free safety, I can see that. I mean, my only issue with him was just his tackling. Mm-hmm. But like you said, this past season he improved on that. But up until that, that was definitely the elephant in this room. Yeah, he got it together. he got it together. I mean, and you put that together along with his range, and he definitely you can't deny him being a top 5 free safety. But we'll see what happens with that. And one more question before we get on some recent stuff, Bob. I want to get your thoughts on Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston QB battle. Who do you think should start, and what do you think Taysom's role should be? Will it benefit him being the quarterback, or do you think it will benefit him, continuing his role, making a big payday, and helping the teams in other areas where we have lost players?
I've heard a few people talk about that that subject, Jameis Winston versus Taysom Hill. It might be a well-viewed topic during training camp. Listen, this is the most important position battle in New Orleans Saints franchise history. This is still very much a playoff caliber team on both sides of the ball. The depth was affected, as we said a little bit ago. But you have some of the best players at their respective positions in the league. Kamara, Ramczyk, Armstead, Thomas, defensively, DeMario, Cam, Onyemata when he comes back, certainly Lattimore, Marcus Callaway. Those are the best players at their positions, or among the best in the National Football League. So with good quarterback play, this is still a bona fide Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. But that's the big if. You have Jameis Winston, who's coming in. He's flashed the potential of a franchise quarterback. First overall pick in 2015. We know he can sling the rock, threw for over 5,000 yards. Only a few players in NFL history have done that. But he's also prone to the turnover. He's rightfully been called out for bad decision making, especially in clutch moments. Then you have Taysom Hill. Taysom is a very, very unproven commodity. He has a difficulty reading defenses. He's inexperienced at the position. He has poor ball mechanics because of that inexperience, and he struggled with his own ball security. While Winston throws a lot of interceptions, Taysom is prone to fumbling the ball. So both of these guys have big, big questions that they're going to have to answer. If they're going to be able to successfully run an offense of a playoff caliber team. And I know I've said from day one when they re-signed Jameis Winston that I believe that Jameis Winston is going to be the main starter in 2021. And I'm not going to back off of that now. I believe he's certainly the better pure passer, and I believe he's the better overall quarterback. And listen, he would not have come back if he and Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael didn't have lengthy discussions. And I realized that no promises were made, but Jameis was guaranteed he's going to have a good, strong shot to start for this team. Otherwise, Jameis wouldn't have come back. There were other opportunities out there. Now, by that same token, Taysom Hill knows the system a little bit better. He is one heck of an athlete. Jameis has nice athletic ability. Taysom Hill has elite athletic ability. Both players have strong arms. I think Winston's accuracy is a little bit more trustworthy, especially once now that he's had a year and a half or so to digest the Saints' offensive system. I think in the long run, Jameis Winston is going to win this quarterback competition. And I also believe that the New Orleans Saints as a team will be better off that way because Taysom Hill's role is best served, in my opinion, as that jack of all trades player that he's been. Defenses have to account for him anywhere he's onto the field. You're not just talking about a gadget player, like when Drew Brees would line up out wide when Taysom would come in at quarterback. You're not going to cover Drew Brees with your top defensive back. Taysom Hill lines up wide. You got to account for that. You got to account for him as a receiver. We know you got to account for him coming out of the backfield. He's a decent blocker as an H-back, and he's worked hard on his receiving ability. So I think he's a more valuable tool for this offense used in that capacity as long as Jameis Winston can prove that he could take care of the ball and run this offense efficiently. But, man, those are big ifs that both players have to answer. This is going to be a legitimate quarterback duel early in camp and at least through the first preseason games. Because of the contrasting styles of each of these players, I think it would greatly benefit the team if either Winston or Hill would distinguish himself above the other player very quickly, so that way the Saints offense can kind of establish a rhythm behind that player. That's why I said it's the most important position battle in franchise history.
Right. We should definitely see, how that plays out. I just think we can utilize Taysom. I mean, we know the role he played on special teams. I know that we lost Justin Hardy this offseason, so that's a key piece that we won't have on special teams. So if we got a guy that can make an impact on special teams the way Taysom have, I think we should, leave him there. But we'll see what happens. Both of them have turnover issues that they need to work on, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so we all can chime in on this WD and give our thoughts. But we're going to start with Bob Rose. We're going to pull up this question. Miss Anna had put this question out. But before we answer it, what is y'all's thoughts on Onyemata getting suspended for the first 6 games? Do y'all think that's going to put a damper to our defensive line in the trenches?
Yeah, I think it's a huge loss, and I'm pissed. It's the second time Onyemata has been zapped. That's why it's a 6-game suspension and not a 2 or a 4. I realize that the NFL list of banned substances is very, very long, and there's a lot of little tiny and frankly ridiculous things on it. However, those are the rules, and they're the rules for everybody. Yeah, Onyemata and these NFL players, they make enough money that most of them have personal trainers, personal medical staffs. There is zero excuse in the world to not know what's going inside your body. So for him to get zapped I'll call it for what I believe it is. It's a dumbass move. It's careless. It's selfish because you put your team in jeopardy. Because his loss leaves a huge void at defensive tackle. Like you said before, they lost Malcolm Brown this offseason, which was a big enough loss. But now looms humongous with Onyemata being out. I think Shy Tuttle's a fine player. I think he's going to do a great job. But that spot is real thin now. You're talking Malcolm Roach, who the team believes pretty strongly in. Two more undrafted rookies this year. Lorenzo Neal Jr., who I already thought had a real good shot to make the team. He's a monster to deal with inside. And also Josiah Bronson from the University of Washington. Those two rookies are going to be counted to step into roles faster than what they normally would have been expected to do. And now you're counting on two more undrafted rookies to fill the role of a budding Pro Bowler, which I believe Onyemata is. At least until he gets back into the fold. This is a huge loss, guys.
Huge.
Thoughts, WD?
Man, I'm gonna keep it short, man. This ain't nothing new. It's like it's always something. Somebody's always doing something. What can I say? I can't say it any better than what Bob Rose said, man. Like it just is nothing new. Same thing with Sean. The only thing I can really mention is about potential guys that can step up. I would say, of course, Bob, he talked about it. Payton Turner, playing in the interior. I would also say Pansanon, man, the guy we signed from the Chiefs. I think he can also step up and play in the interior. But it's a huge loss, and I know we're gonna rely on guys like Shy Tuttle and Malcolm Roach. I had to think about his name, but I know we're gonna rely on those guys. And I know they have a lot to prove, but for the most part, they've been rotational guys. So I just got to see, man. I just think we are in a lot of trouble when it comes to the interior defensive line. Because, hell, we lost Malcolm Brown, Sheldon Rankins. Even when Sheldon Rankins was hurt and he came back, he made a few good plays, man. He had sacks here and there, He did a lot of the dirty work when he was here, too. So it's just... Like Bob said, man, it's selfish, and I'm just saying, man, I'm kind of sick of it, I'm sick of it to the point. It's like it's always something. Somebody always doing something. If it ain't somebody staying healthy, it's this.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Onyemata, he done been in trouble. I know. I think they got him for. Besides his first offense with this, I think he had a marijuana charge. Yeah. But he kind of been like a great locker room guy. Like you really don't hear too much about him being like a locker room issue. From what I hear, he really don't talk too much. But man, this right here, this is something serious. A second offense on this, that's definitely not good. That's kind of being selfish. So, it's definitely gonna hurt the team. It's definitely gonna hurt the team, and as you remember last year, those few games that Malcolm Brown was out for, I think like 2 or 3 games. That run defense, it didn't suffer, but it wasn't the type of run defense that we was putting out. And I think somebody broke the end of our streak with the I think we had 98. We won't let nobody get over 98 yards, but somebody broke that streak during the time he was out. So
the Eagles.
Yep.
The Eagles, yeah.
With 2 100-yard rushes. It wasn't just one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, he definitely going to be missing. With him, you missing last season, he improved on his sacks. He got even better with his sacks. So you missing run stop and mixed with, getting at the quarterback. So getting that interior pressure to the quarterback. So, we shall see. But We have seen flashes with Shy Tuttle. I'm not gonna say flashes with Shy Tuttle because he's been kind of consistent in my book, low key, but he's been playing his role. So he hadn't had too big of a role to really see if he can be really consistent or considered a really good player. But he's definitely done shown a lot of flashes that he can accept that role at least during that time, and then you combine it with Malcolm Roach and like Bob was saying earlier, possibly throwing Payton Turner in there. We got depth, that's the good thing about this situation, but Onyemata, we're gonna miss his presence. He was playing at Pro Bowl, caliber level in the trenches. So I said very selfish move on your mother's part, and we
Hey,
definitely gotta work around it.
this
That's
is
all I
crazy.
know.
This is crazy.
And I don't think they're gonna put Davenport. I think they're gonna keep him on the outside because last year Davenport he was getting a lot of good he was getting a lot of good pressure to the quarterback. I know they came out with some rankings. He was like in the top 3 or top 5 with getting pressures to the quarterback. And some of that he was getting, interior pressure. So I don't know what they plan on doing, but I do know we have some depth there. So it's the world not
Yeah,
over.
and it's going to be tested. Yeah, as you guys know, the team opens up against the Green Bay Packers, and I know everybody wants to talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Jones.
Exactly. You're now gonna have to go against Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae as a receiver without Onyemata, breaking in a new linebacker with Pete Werner. So you always worry about a rookie being out of position. A number 2 cornerback that could possibly be Patrick Robinson and/or PJ Williams, and they might even be your number 1 cornerback if Marshawn Lattimore is suspended, which I still expect to happen, but we haven't heard yet. Man, this might be a scary season opener, guys.
I agree. And we're going to get into that Kwon news, but as good as this Kwon news could possibly be, especially if he's 100%, we pretty much know he's going to be out there. We get into it, but if these other factors doesn't fall in place, like the Marshawn situation, it's going to be real scary out there week 1. So, okay, I see a question for Bob. Shout out to Byron, you saying in the building. He said, question for Bob Rose. Who do you think will be the number 2 receiver and number 2 cornerback?
Thank you for the question, Byron. I'm going to start at cornerback first, since we've been talking a lot on the defensive side of the ball. Again, all of us are on the edges of our seat waiting to see what happens with Sean. And Marshawn Lattimore is one of the top 5 cornerbacks, and he isn't number 4 or 5. So he is that damn good. I think Paulson Adebo has a strong shot to open up the year as a starter, even if Marshawn starts the season. Adebo is a darn good cornerback. He's tall, he's physical, he's athletic, he's got great instincts and ball skills. He dropped to the 3rd round because he opted out last year, and now he's come out with his anti-vaccine Instagram posts and tweets. I know that's ticking off a lot of people, and I'm gonna stay on the fence. I'm not gonna cause anything political here. But as a player, I think Saints fans are going to be impressed with what he brings to the table. Outside of that, I hope to God they bring in another veteran cornerback. I'm rooting for Garyon Connolly, who, by the way, used to play with Marshawn at Ohio State. But Drake Kirkpatrick, Steven Nelson are still out there. All of those guys are bigger upgrades, much bigger upgrades than Patrick Robinson, or if they move PJ back to cornerback. I know. I'm terrified of it. But if Adebo isn't your number 2 cornerback, then as it stands right now, you got to believe Patrick Robinson is number 2. Listen, I like Keith Washington, the 2nd-year undrafted guy from West Virginia. I love Bryce Thompson, the undrafted rookie from Tennessee. I think one of those guys have a shot to make the team, but those aren't going to be your opening day starters. Those are going to be depth guys, role players, special teams guys. As it stands right now, You're hoping for Marshawn Lattimore, if he is suspended, to come back quickly. And Debo, he's got to mature real quick, because otherwise, again, you're counting on Patrick Robinson, PJ, and a couple of undrafted guys. And the Saints have 11.3 or $11.6 million of cap space. We're hoping a chunk of that gets used on Kwon, and I know you're coming back to him in a minute. But there is still money there to bring in a veteran cornerback, or maybe even a vet defensive tackle. If you juggle your numbers right, you could actually check off both boxes. But I think cornerback is by far the biggest need on this team right now. And I know I'm high on Debo, but they need to bring in a veteran before the season starts. I call it the way I see it. Number 2 wide receiver. There's going to be a heavy competition in camp at all these wide out spot guys. Obviously, Michael Thomas. He is the new beast mode. He's going to be a monster again, and I expect a big bounce back here from him. But when he went down last year, Emmanuel Sanders did all right, but you really saw how much this receiving corps struggled without him. I know a lot of people were expecting a big breakout year from Kwon Smith. Listen, I'm rooting for it, but I don't see it. The man has had multiple opportunities to grab a hold of this number 2 receiving job and has not done it. I've not been a fan of him since UCF. He has nice ability to take the top off of defense, but he's never been able to get separation on his underneath routes or isolated situations. What's going to change? Just because you have a strong arm guy, that opens up the deep ball, but you still need guys to get open underneath, flat out. And Kwon hasn't been able to do it. I hope the light switch finally comes on. My favorite to grab the number 2 job is Marquez Callaway. I think he was on his way to doing that last year before he got nicked up at midseason, and that hamstring injury kind of slowed him down the stretch. Callaway earned the trust of Drew Brees and Sean Payton real quick. And as an undrafted guy, that's an impressive feat. And I've been telling people this. The book on Callaway, when he came out of Tennessee last year, a lot of people were confused at what his fit with the New Orleans Saints would be, because the book on him coming out of Tennessee was he's only a deep guy. Yeah, he has good ball tracking skills and decent speed, great leaping ability, but not much of a route run. Well, he proved all those naysayers wrong last year. So I think Marquez Callaway could be in for a breakout season. I think Deontay Harris is going to play a huge role in this offense. He's not going to be your number 2 guy, though, because you want to limit his snaps. Because you don't want to get him banged up, because he's such a key point of that punt and kick return game. But Deontay is going to factor in as a receiver. Number 3, number 4 guy. Your number 2 receiving spot, as it stands right now, is going to come down to either Callaway or Kwon. I personally would favor Callaway, but one of these 2 guys, both of these guys, hopefully, but at least one of these 2 have to step up in a big way.
Right. Good stuff, Bob. Before we get to the final topic of the night, let's read a few comments. I see Casual Phasing in the building. She said, "Hey CB, shout out to you, Casual. Welcome." And then we got Dad Saints, number 1 in the building. He said, "Fam, what's good? What's good with you, fam?" Let's see. Then I see Olivier in the building said, "Hey CB." Hey Olivier, I'm glad you tuned in. Shout out to you. Okay, let's see if we got any more questions. Basically, they had the same question. I see a super chat by Dada Saints. Let me pull that up. Let's see. Okay, it's pulled up now. My fault. Shout out to Dad Saints. He said, "Bob, is it realistic we bring in anyone in a trade?"
Sure. You never want to rule anything out with these guys. And they made a couple player deals just before the start of the regular season in the past. The big name out there right now is Miami cornerback Xavier Howard. And you can understand why. Xavier is one of the best cornerbacks in the business. He's 28 years old, so he's a few years older than Marshawn. Marshawn definitely has the youth, a youth advantage over him. But Howard has led the league in interceptions 2 of the last 3 years. 18 interceptions in the last 3 years, including 10 last year. The guy is a baller, but Miami's going to expect at least a first-round draft choice from him. I know the Saints hold that, as most NFL teams do. The Saints hold those high draft picks sacred. It all depends on what happens with Marshawn. If Marshawn gets suspended, I think they could make a move for Howard. At least it's potential. But that's a high asking price, and you're talking about a $12 million cap hit that's going to have to be reworked. And Howard wants his deal redone anyway. That's why Miami is fielding offers. They haven't officially said he's on the trade market, but they've also officially said we're listening to offers. So whatever that means, New Orleans would have to wow him with an offer. Wouldn't also surprise me if they might sprinkle in a player, a starting caliber player, which means who could be on the chopping block. And I just wrote about that a couple of days ago. I floated out some potential names out there. I personally don't think they make a blockbuster deal like this, but you might see towards the end of training camp, you might see them make a move for maybe a defensive tackle for depth purposes, or a number 3 corner that they feel that could be an upgrade over Patrick Robinson and some of those undrafted guys. Names we're not necessarily hearing right now. I think realistically speaking, if the Saints make a trade, it's going to be more towards a mid-tier guy like that, rather than a blockbuster for Xavier Howard. But he's on the trade block. New England has said they'd listen to offers for Stephen Gilmore. Same thing. I think the asking price at the end of the day would be a little bit too high. But both of those players would fill off a big and need to do checkbox for the New Orleans Saints. So while I don't think it could happen, don't be surprised if something like that does.
Right. And do you think that Marshawn could possibly, be involved in that, or do you think the numbers won't match up?
I think Marshawn, and I actually included Marshawn, in 5 potential Saints players, that could be, one of which could be dangled in a trade for Xavier Howard. Marshawn and Xavier, skill-wise, they're about even. You got to put, both of them are certainly in the top 5 of NFL cornerbacks. I would personally rather have Marshawn on my team. But if remember, he's in a contract year too. So if New Orleans doesn't feel like they'll be able to get an extension done for Lattimore, a guy like Howard is already under contract. So all you'd have to do is rework his deal, offer him a little bit more money. He's like the fifth or sixth highest paid corner right now. Which frankly, I think it's ridiculous that he's holding out because of that. But if you make him, the second or third highest player, again, he's already under contract. He's a couple years older, but he's still in the prime of his career. We've seen New Orleans make a player-for-player swap with Miami a couple of times during the Sean Payton era. So a Marshawn for Xavier Howard swap, I don't think something like that would happen, but it does make sense for both teams. If Miami feels, okay, Howard is not going to play for us unless we re-up his deal, we're not going to re-up his deal. If New Orleans feels, okay, you're Marshawn, who could, again, be suspended. If New Orleans feels they can't get him re-signed, you got Howard sitting right out there. He can play day one, where Marshawn might not be able to this year, and you already have him under contract. Xavier would cost about the same as Marshawn would at the end of the day, money-wise. Marshawn's going to have a longer career, knock on wood, unless injuries play a factor. But again, you could see how a deal like that would make sense for both sides. I know it's far-fetched, and I don't think it'll happen. But if it does, it wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily.
Good point. That's some good stuff right there. Man, you can't X that out. That Marshawn being in that situation, because I'm kind of shocked that, well, as far as with him and Remchek, I knew Remchek was going to be first up. Yeah. Then it really would have been Marcus Williams Marcus Williams next. If they would have agreed to, a certain pay, so then that would have mean he would have been third man in line. And I'm not sure if they more concerned about keeping him or that. But at some point, Marshawn, you can't just let him walk and we're not getting nothing in return. So
Yeah.
I mean, it just brings you back to the draft. Was they moving up to get one of those corners to be a number 2 guy, or was it somebody to possibly replace Marshawn?
Well, and that's a great question.
Yeah.
You figure what they would have had to give up to move up to get a J.C. Horner or Patrick Surtain. You're talking multiple first-round picks, probably a mid-round pick or two. That's a big return to pay. And you don't make a move like that for a number 2 cornerback. You do it as a top shutdown corner. And I don't think they were pleased. In fact, I know for a fact they were pissed at what happened with Marshawn, at the trouble he got himself into in the offseason. They think highly of him as a player. And ultimately, guys, I do think that they get a long-term deal done with him. Because remember, he agreed to a contract restructure to help save their salary cap space. Those voidable years that Mickey Loomis has been adding onto deals lately. So if Marshawn moves on, he's still on the books to be paid by New Orleans. So New Orleans is not going to take that lightly. I think they're going to do what it takes to get a deal done at the end of the day. But there's some definite reasons why it wouldn't work on both sides. I think it'll happen, but he didn't do himself any favors by getting himself into trouble. And the team has made no secret, but behind closed doors. But they made no secret they don't like some of the people he hangs out with at home when he goes back home. And I'm not about to sit here and point fingers and judge the man. Lord knows my closet is full of skeletons. And when I was that age, I got into all kinds of trouble myself. But just like we talked about with Onyemata, he's got to be smarter and not put himself in situations like that. I mean, he's in line to be paid as one of, if not the top cornerback in the National Football League. There is nobody I would rather have on my team covering the opposition's number 1 receiver than Marshawn Lattimore. For my money, he's the best cornerback in the game. When he's on. So I do think that the long-term goal for both parties is that they'll get a long-term deal done together, and Marshawn Lattimore will ultimately stay in New Orleans Saints.
Okay. There's a few guys in the comment section saying you speaking the truth.
I tell you, this comment section got me moving. Somebody pulled up Ken Crawley. I forgot all about Ken Crawley. And the reaction to that was hilarious. And somebody called Lattimore Daddy Lattimore. So, yeah, they just, the chat is always good, man.
Okay, well, we can move into the last topic of the night. As you know, Mr. Bob Rose, we have brought back Kwon Alexander, and just a reminder for the audience: be sure to go check out Bob Rose articles, on these topics. He got a topic on the Xavier Howard situation, the possible trades he just said. And I believe you got one on this one, correct? I haven't checked
on Kwon?
On this Kwon situation.
Our John Hendricks, Saints News Network does, yeah. John Hendricks and Kyle Mosley have wrote about Kwon 2 articles in the last couple of days, and we're all paying close attention to see what happens with that. But you're right. As a group, we try to hit all these issues. I talked about the potential Marshawn Lattimore along with a couple other Saints players possibly being dangled as a trade. I've talked about the quarterback controversy. We're trying to hit position group by position group for a training camp preview every day. until we finish with those positions. And then, of course, we're going to have the individual training camp battles and roster bubble players as camp progresses.
Okay. So yes, y'all be sure to go check out. It's some great material from these guys. So Bob, what's your thoughts on Kwon? We went out and we got Pete Warner early in the second round. We got him early in the draft. Um, to me, I thought that was gonna be a replacement for Kwon since we didn't bring him back at that time. Now we're bringing him back. So what do you think? Do you think they're comfortable at that position, or is Pete Warner just the insurance type player if Kwon doesn't play out? Do you think they had a vision for Kwon all along to come back?
I do think they had a vision for Kwon. And I said since the day they released him that I felt Kwon Alexander would be back with New Orleans.
So.
I found it very interesting. All the different workout and recovery videos that he posted with Dr. Reef, everybody was focused on how crazy he looked in those workouts. And they were insane. I mean, he looks ready to go. What I noted was in a lot of them, he was wearing New Orleans Saints gear. And even if it didn't say, New Orleans Saints on it, it was still almost always black and gold. We know he developed a very close relationship very fast with Demario Davis. It got along great with Dennis Allen, Cam Jordan, and all of those defensive teammates. He was a perfect fit, as the team and he all said. So I am not surprised he's back in the building. I think they're working hard. I know they're working hard to get a deal done. There's 2 or 3 other teams that are interested in Kwon. The most interested is reportedly the LA Rams. But this is the second straight day that Kwon has remained in the city. And I think that that's because New Orleans and Kwon's people are both exploring the market to try to figure out, try to fish out what the other team's deals are. They're that determined to get this done. I would be shocked if they didn't re-sign Kwon Alexander in the next 18 to 24 hours. I think he'll be back in New Orleans. I still love the Pete Warner pick of the second round, though. I believe that the Saints were going to draft a linebacker early on day 2 all along. And in fact, in my mock drafts, I had it pegged. I just didn't think it would be Warner. But this kid is a player, guys. You're really going to like him. He could play any of the linebacking spots. He's a tremendously instinctive player. He'll hold up well for you in coverage. He's not quite the athlete that Demario or Kwon is, but he has great short area quickness, and he is fast and fluid enough to cover the majority of tight ends. I mean, a guy like Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, George Kittle might give him problems, but those guys give everybody problems. He'll be able to cover most tight ends. He'll be able to stay with most backs out of the backfield. Having Warner around is a great insurance policy for Kwon if Kwon comes back, because we know Kwon's injury history. Demario Davis, although knock on wood, he has not slowed down. The man is still 32 years old and plays like a maniac every single play. So you're bound. Father Time is undefeated. We've seen that time and time again. So if Demario Davis slows down, like we talked about with Payton Turner, Pete Warner is just as much a pick for the next 2 to 3 years down the road as he is for today. The Saints want to have Kwon Alexander back and paired with Demario. I mean, forget Batman and Robin. These guys were Superman and Batman, Iron Man, Captain America, whatever superhero analogies you want to put. They are a perfect complement for this defense and for each other. And the team would much rather have a Kwon Alexander, Demario Davis pairing to start the year than they would Kwon and Pete Warner, or Kwon and Zach Vaughn, who I think is going to do some nice things this year. Only because of the experience factor. Like we just said a few minutes ago, do you really want to face Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and that Packers offense with no Onyemata, potentially no Marshawn, and a rookie linebacker? They will if they have to, but if having Kwon Alexander back in is a big ace in your depth.
Agreed.
They better make it happen.
Yeah.
In WD, WD, we can give our thoughts on it, but I see a super chat for
Okay.
Bob. Right, cool. We can go ahead and get to that. Shout out to Dada Saints, another super chat. And he said, Bob, what about Armstead being shop a player swap?
I never say never,
Mm.
but I can't see something like that happening. Yeah, I know they just re-signed, extended and re-signed Ryan Ramczyk. And eventually, I think Ryan Ramczyk is going to be your left tackle, perhaps even next year. Because remember, Tehran is coming into a contract year. But again, first thing I want you to do is look at the quarterback position. You're breaking in a new quarterback. It doesn't matter who it is. You want to protect that guy and give that guy as many opportunities as you can for him to succeed. So I can't see them moving on from the best or one of the best left tackles in the game. I know you can move Ramczyk over to left tackle immediately if you had to. And James Hurst is one heck of a replacement, for either tackle position. He's going to be your number six offensive lineman this year. And James could play either guard or either tackle spot. But I would much rather have Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead protecting my quarterback and opening up holes for Kamara and Murray than I would Ramczyk and James Hurst, or Ramczyk and Landon Young, who I think they're high on as a late round pick. So no, I mean it might make sense on paper to move Armstead for a big time player, but if that kind of thing was going to happen, it would have happened earlier in the summer, where the Saints could have shuffled that line a little bit more, bolstered the depth with some more signings. So again, I never say never, but I can't see Teron Armstead being moved.
Okay. Good thoughts. Okay, so let's go back to the Kwon situation. WD.
They better make it happen.
Before the show, and I seen a smirk. So
they better make it happen. I mean, they have never had a will linebacker play as good as Kwon did. I guess he played in 5-6 games. The guy flies around, but the thing is his speed, man. And I mean, you can look at even the Chiefs game. There was a pass. That was a pass that Mahomes was trying to get off to Tyreek, and
Yep.
Kwon he saved that. He saved that play. I'm telling this guy, man. I don't want to take a knock at Zach Bond or Pete Warner. So I'm not gonna go there. But I'm just gonna say, man, like somebody like Kwon, man, is who they need, man. And it's just even if he does get hurt so very often, when he's healthy, I feel like he's a top linebacker. I would say top 15 just to be safe. But that guy flies around, and the fact that his takeaways, if you notice, he's always punching at the ball. He was covering Hayden Hurst from the Atlanta Falcons, man. He was doing that pretty well. But I mean, this is a guy, man. This is a linebacker that I've been looking for the longest. And DeMario, he's one too. But I'm just saying, as far as Kwon having that speed and fly around, playing well, can't find a better replacement in my opinion.
Right. My thoughts on that. I'm not sure if I believe they had some thoughts along that, once his injury start coming about, that they're going to, give him another look. Now I do see money being discussed with this. I'm pretty sure Kwon has acknowledged, okay, I know I'm not gonna get a price tag that high, for us around the 13 million range. I'm pretty sure he understands that. I believe now looking at it, I believe they went with Pete Warner for the future.
Mm-hmm.
For the future, Will or Mike. I'm not sure if he could play Mike. We had to see, but I see him as the future linebacker at one of those positions. I believe he would have been the guy. If we don't sign Kwon, he would be the guy. But if Kwon does come on board and he's healthy, I think that'd be a good thing for Pete Warner. He'd be able to learn under DeMario and Kwon, that'll be a great thing for Pete because he's gonna get his opportunity, whether it's now or maybe a year from now or two. So far as that goes with Pete, I think he's gonna be in a good situation if we sign Kwon. And if we don't, I believe he can be in a good situation as well. But he's gonna have a big role because you see, we just shifted Zach Bond out to real linebacker. Now he may have something we hadn't seen, but you know what I done seen is more of him rushing to the quarterback. I really hadn't seen too much of him in coverage, going sideline to sideline, running after run. I hadn't seen that. What I really seen from Zach Bond is rushing the quarterback. So I don't know what the vision is for him. But Pete is in a good situation, either or. But Kwon, we definitely need him back. Like y'all said, it's no way around it.
That sideline to sideline speed, man, from both Kwon and DeMario is something serious.
Yep.
And something I haven't seen. I mean, my lifetime, but.
Not from two guys. And you figure the Saints ask a ton of their out of their linebackers, because they like to run a 4-2-5 alignment, because they love with only two linebackers, covering sideline to sideline, covering, blitzing, gap responsibility. And they do that because they want to keep Martin Johnson on the field. They want to move Malcolm Jenkins around a little bit, move him up into the box as much as possible. So they want to. They ask so much of their linebackers, and like you said, Chad, it's just asking a little bit too much of Pete Werner, to handle that responsibility immediately as a rookie. So exactly like you said, having Kwon back slows the learning curve for Werner a little bit. Allows them to bring him on a little bit more slowly. They'll still use him along with Kwon and DeMario in their base sets, and 3 linebacker sets. But now he doesn't have to take on the entire defensive playbook in that 4-2-5 alignment that they like to run so often.
Right. And we have Miss Pretty Carly in the house. Miss Pretty Carly.
I am late, but I am here. So I am sorry. Bob, I couldn't miss you. I had to come. I know I'm late, but I couldn't just let this day go by without me jumping on this thing with you being here. I was too excited.
I'm so excited to join you guys. I was feeling a little bit forgotten about, because you guys have talked about having me on, and then you go and let life get in the way and join us right at the very end.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
Don't be. I hope we're going to have a lot of crossover shows between you guys' show and my show. I love what you do. I love coming on with you tonight. It was truly an honor.
Thank you. It was an honor to have you too. We know how knowledgeable you are about the Saints, how passionate you are. We know you know your stuff, and we know that you can teach us some stuff too. So, like I said, I'm happy that you're here, and I just could not let this whole podcast go by without me at least jumping in to say hello.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. And listen, we are literally all family. If I could teach, I appreciate that. My goal is to learn from you guys as well. And we're all young in this podcasting business. Hopefully together we're the future. Again, I'm a lot grayer than y'all are, so you guys have the longer future than me, but we'll blaze the path together.
Well, Carly, you have any questions for Bob before we wrap the show up?
I have just one. So I was wondering what exactly, you don't have to go into depth, but how do you feel about this? I know it has nothing to do with on field, but how do you feel about Chauncey just having these outbursts now, and we're about to come up on this season? Do you think this is just typical Saints off-season drama, or how do you feel about him I feel like he needs to take a break from social media. Do you think he's doing too much?
Yeah, I do think he's doing too much. But listen, that's who he is. And it's funny you said that because, and I know he's gotten into beefs with a couple people over the last couple of days. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I am going to be so glad when these guys get back onto the field because he's going to be tweeting. He's going to be tweeting a little bit less. But like that in the law, yeah, they're just words. Yeah, he is still one hell of a player and very, very important to what this defense, what this team, excuse me, needs him to be. So he's a big factor into the plans. And it's not like most of these guys are getting into any major trouble off the field. I mean, even the brush ups that Marshawn has had and Onyemata has had, like you guys pointed out earlier. It's not that those guys are traditional troublemakers or anything like that. So I don't want to sound like the old guy, screaming, get off of my lawn, by saying these players need to stay off of Twitter. I would certainly prefer, as I know Sean Payton feels the same way, I would certainly prefer, that they keep a little bit lower profile. But hell, even Coach is guilty of getting into Twitter beefs. So I mean, if that's what kind of example that you're going to set, you don't exactly, Coach Payton can't exactly go to Chauncey or Marshawn or Cam, or some of those other more Michael Thomas, some of those other more active guys on Twitter. Sean Payton can't come to you and say, "Hey guys, tone it down," because Coach himself is extremely active on social media. And you know what? With what the four of us do for a living, that actually helps us because it gives us an opportunity to perhaps forge a relationship with them, through Twitter, through Facebook, whatever. Again, I wish the antics would tame down a little bit, and I think they will when they get back onto the field. Football and their teammates are still, at the end of the day, what's most important to these guys. At least I feel so.
Right. All right, Mr. Bob. Well, we definitely appreciate you for coming on. And once again, man, it's been a while, and we definitely will, keep in contact, going forward. Like you said, doing cross podcasting and stuff. We definitely don't mind doing that. So we definitely looking forward to, doing some work with you guys over there. Just definitely excited for the season. Training camp coming up, so I know you excited. We are excited. So once again, man, it's all love this way. You have any final thoughts? Once again, you want to let the listeners know where to get some of your content at and the podcast you do?
Yeah, I'd love to. And again, thank all three of you for having me on. And you reach out to me anytime. I think at least a couple of you still have my phone number. My Twitter DMs, Facebook DMs, they're all open. I'll be taking probably a few days break at the end of July, beginning of August. I'm going on a beach trip. I'll do a couple shows, but I'll tame down the articles because your boy's getting married on August 1st. Thinking the wife might want me to take a little bit of a media break, but I'll get back at it shortly after. And I definitely want to have crossover shows. All three of you on either together or separately at some point on mine. Love to come back on with you guys. Like I said, I'm a big fan of what y'all do. But listen, I'm so honored and privileged that you asked me on tonight. It's been long overdue. I've looked forward to it. But you can follow me on Facebook, Bob Rose. Very simple to find. Over on Twitter, I'm at BobbyR2613. I post all my articles on my personal page, but you can also find me and all my works on the Saints News Network or at Saints News on Twitter or the SI.com team page. Go to sportsillustrated.com, click on New Orleans Saints. Every single article you see through the SI.com site comes from me, Kyle Mosley, John Hendricks, Brendan Boylan, the entire Saints News Network. But I love y'all for the support that you've given us. If you are active on Facebook, please join the Bayou Blitz Facebook group. We kind of channel all of our works there. I know you guys throw your shows on there. I throw my Bayou Blitz show on there once we get that up and running again. So I'm so proud of all the members of that Bayou Blitz group for keeping it going. The administrators have to do very, very little. There's not a lot of beef. There's good, healthy football debate, and it's just one big, happy family, just as we are. I love you guys, and thank you so much for what you do.
No problem, fam. And we're looking forward to hearing from you, fam. So once again, we'll keep in contact with you, and thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure. You guys be well. Who dat?
Who that for life?
Who that, Bob?
Who that?
Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Okay. All right, team. Well, y'all have any final thoughts before we get off? Once again, shout out to Bob Rose for coming in, dropping that good knowledge. I see you in the comments, Kev. Oh, man.
I seen we had a Falcon fan in the comment section.
Yeah, I seen that too. But y'all got any final thoughts?
Oh man, I just want to say shout out to Bob, man. His great insight, man. It was good having him on. I want to say shout out to the chat as well. The chat got a smile. It's putting a smile on my face, man. Yeah, man. It's been fun, entertaining. Saints better sign Kwon, man. That's all I know. That's the only thing I got to say about that.
Right. So I see Miss Carly is muted. Carly, you there?
Yes, I am, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on those post notifications where the bell is at so you guys do not miss an upload from us. And check out the website. Your girl still got some pecan candies on sale if y'all want to get y'all some real quick and some t-shirts. So y'all check out the website and get y'all some WDN Chatline gear.
Right. And once again, shout out to all the people in the comment sections that tuned in to watch the show. I do see a Falcon fan in the building. Really no comment on that. Jerry said, "Oh, no, the Falcon fan," but yeah, once again, yeah, shout out to all of y'all in the comment section, man. We really appreciate y'all, and y'all kept the vibe going tonight, and appreciate y'all for asking Bob some questions. He really knowledgeable, of the Saints. So shout out to everybody. Like Carly said, just please remember to like, subscribe, and follow the page. Please hit the like buttons on this podcast tonight, and we'll be looking forward to seeing y'all down the road. As we know, next weekend, what is taking place? Training camp officially begins, so it's right here around the corner. Who That Nation? It's time to get excited, and we definitely excited. We're ready to come with some content. In the Chatline Film Room series will start back up next week. I'm back on regular schedule, so I have more free time to do that. And training camp is here, so why not get back in the mud? And the Mad series will start next weekend as well, or sometime next week. So be on the lookout for that. That'll start back up. And if don't anybody have anything else to say, it's the WDN Chatline podcast, and we are out. Who that?
Who that?
For life.